Kurama sacrificed his life so Naruto could undergo his strongest transformation in Baryon mode. This way he could temporarily surpass Ishiki in strength and therefore play a major role in defeating him. Now in Tubular Vortex, Kurama has resurrected and is now among the living inside of Himawari, Naruto's daughter. We know tailed beasts will always resurrect as long as there is even a sliver of their chakra somewhere. They never truly die. As in Kurama's case, he was resurrected inside of Himawari, meaning the chakra that was necessary for him to revive himself was already present inside of her. So therefore, Himawari is the new Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. But it would be wrong to say Jinchuriki because this time is something more. Kurama wasn't sealed into her, which is normal practice for someone to actually become a Jinchuriki. He was reborn as a part of her being. But I have a feeling it wasn't always supposed to be like this. Not even just from an Ikimoto changing the story to make her a Jinchuriki standpoint, but from a timeline standpoint. Stick around if you want to hear me explain, but before I get on with the video, I was hoping you would drop a quick like on the video. We're currently on the hunt for 10k subs, and liking the video helps the video get pushed further into the YouTube algorithm. We're hoping to reach 10k by the start of May, so every like matters extremely. But anyway, let's get into the video. The main purpose of chapter 5 was to give the Shinju a purpose. In this chapter, every one of them named the target they were after to devour. Matsuri was after Konohamaru, Hidari was after Sarada, Mamushi wanted Ada, and JURA surprisingly enough targeted Naruto. At the time we really didn't know why he was specifically after Naruto, since the rest of the Shinju's counterpart normally had a relationship with the people they were after. We thought this would be the same for JURA. That meant JURA had to be someone that was very close to Naruto, or maybe one of his sworn enemies. Characters like Jigen came to mind, Madara. I even heard some people say Gaara, as comical as that sounds. But it turns out JURA is just a reincarnation of the Ten Tails itself. So that means he wasn't necessarily interested in Naruto per se, he was after the nine-tailed fox inside of him. He sensed the nine tails in Himawari when he went to Konoha, and ever since then, he's changed his target to her instead. Now let's just state the obvious. This was a surprise for everyone, not only because Kurama was born inside of Himawari, but because this was actually supposed to happen to Boruto. Now, in story terms, it makes sense for this to happen to either Boruto or Himawari, since they are both Naruto's blood children. But from a writing standpoint, the original plan was for Ikimoto to have Boruto the new Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. And we can deduce that from this drawing of Team 7 from Kishimoto. Now, this was a while back. So we look at this drawing, and in this drawing we can see Mitsuki in his Sage mode, Sarada with her MS activated, and Boruto in KCM form. So this was a plan since the start of the series to have Boruto inherit Naruto's power as a Jinchuriki, but the thought was later retracted because he thought it would be a little underwhelming. And I guess Ikimoto also agreed because he done gave the power to Himawari instead. And it made plenty sense. Boruto is already a powerhouse. It wouldn't make sense to give Boruto all these advantages in battle plus KCM. That would just be overkill. Not when you have a character like Himawari, who's perfectly able to take on that power herself and become relevant to the story. If the goal was to implement Himawari more into the story and have her fight as well, making her into the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails was the right way to go. Since nowadays Ikimoto is in primary control of the Boruto manga, he took advantage of Kishimoto not giving Boruto Kurama and just gave it to her instead. Now you can not only have Himawari be an actual shinobi, you can have her fight against the stronger enemies for the foreseeable future because of Kurama and the Byakugan, making her even more relevant to the story. But looking at things a bit closer, even Boruto and the mastermind behind all these operations, KASHIN KOJI, was caught off guard a bit when he first heard about this. A member of the Singularities of Fate that is supposed to have prescience, a Shinjutsu that allows one to see all possible future timelines and events, seems surprised when hearing the Shinju were after Himawari. That tells me a few things. Either something caused the timeline to change massively over the duration of these 4 to 5 chapters, or the rebirth of the Nine Tails wasn't supposed to happen yet, which also was heavily connected to the alteration of the timeline. So basically, in chapter 9, Shikamaru informed Boruto that there are 2 of the Shinju in Konoha. They came looking for Naruto, but now they're focused on Himawari. So at first when he said this, Boruto seemed rather shocked at this fact. Not even the fact that the Nine Tails was involved. So most likely, the fact that Himawari was actually the one being targeted was a very unlikely outcome. So because of this event, it caused the timeline to shift majorly in another direction, which of course most likely caused Boruto and Koji to change their course of action. So let's look at it like this. Now that Himawari and Kurama became one body and soul, how has it really changed the timeline? What is different? Well, for one, we can say it prevented Inojin's death. Since Himawari was able to use Kurama's chakra pretty much off rip to heal Inojin's wound, it saved his life. Had they waited until Sakura was able to heal him, he probably wouldn't have made it that long. She was also able to heal Sarada's wrist that has experienced some nerve damage. So it's nothing on the level of Inojin's injury, but we can see positive things have come from this change in the timeline. So we've established the change of the timeline isn't quote unquote bad. It just presents some more interesting concepts that Kashin, Koji, and Boruto gotta look out for. I feel like the direct cause of the timeline changing is Kurama. So once we learn the truth of why Kurama manifested in Himawari particularly, that's when we'll learn more about the timeline alteration. But I think this happened due to Kurama's actions before he died. That's also a possibility as well that I didn't mention before. If only a sliver of chakra is needed for a tail beast to resurrect, there must have been a way Kurama transferred his chakra to Himawari in preparation for this moment. The only question we have to ask is how. Since Himawari is around Naruto quite a bit, since they did live together, there was a lot of opportunities he could have transferred his chakra to her. I mean, Kurama did something very similar with Kakashi during the war. Before he threw Kakashi at Obito, he gave him some chakra, and the transference of chakra only required Naruto and Kakashi to touch hands. He even did it without Naruto finding out. So I believe Kurama has the capability to do this without Naruto catching on. And that's probably because it wasn't a lot of chakra, only the required amount of chakra needed for revival, which isn't a lot. So it's totally understandable if Naruto may have not noticed it. It doesn't have to be something Naruto knows about. Now Kurama is a very smart individual. He's known about Ishiki's existence for a while before Naruto even fought him. Even Jigen, he knows the threats that were looming around the world. So thinking ahead, I wouldn't be surprised if he knew that him sacrificing himself was something that he knew he was gonna have to do. And what better way to sacrifice yourself than to set up essentially his next host? So it kind of seemed like he chose Himawari as a vessel. He even said that he can sense that her chakra has a higher affinity than any of her predecessors. This was the reason he chose Himawari instead of Boruto. So Kurama definitely set this up consciously. There's too many coincidences. I believe if it was a birth thing, Boruto should have had Kurama. Himawari didn't have Kurama's chakra at birth. She acquired it before Kurama was killed, or at the latest, before Naruto got sealed. But even knowing this, I'm still slumped if Koji considered this to be a high likely outcome or not. He knows all outcomes, so why is it that him, and especially Boruto, seemed puzzled when this occurred? Koji didn't really give it all too much expression, so some people may interpret it differently, but we definitely know that Boruto didn't know. And him and Koji are supposed to be a team. So this leads me to believe something. I don't think Kurama was supposed to resurrect at this point in time. Or that's what it was supposed to be originally. Things are constantly changing in the timeline. Things that are in and out of Boruto and Koji's control. Like the awakening of the Shinju. There was a chance it could have been prevented if Boruto acted a little faster and found the 10 tails sooner. Or Code invading Konoha. I mean, for that case, no matter what they done, the truth was it was always gonna happen. There was very little they could do to prevent these events. In the original timeline where Boruto was killed by JURA, Himawari probably wasn't the host of the Nine Tails. If she was, Boruto probably could have been healed by Himawari, and his life could have been saved, you never know. You see, that's just an example of how things could have been different in a timeline where Himawari had Kurama. So now we have to say to ourselves, who is responsible for this? Who is the main reason for Himawari having this power? In the unlikely event that Koji did something to influence this, why do you think he did it? Or do you think this whole thing was premeditated by Kurama himself before he died? One thing for sure, someone pulled some strings from the shadows, because I don't believe this is how the timeline should have went. And because this is how it went, now Himawari and Boruto have to be careful because JURA has his eyes set on both of them. Although for different reasons, he still is the most interested in those two. No matter what you think, this change in the timeline has worked wonders for everyone, because now Himawari and all the members of Team 10 have survived Jura's assault, and Konoha has another asset to battle against Jura. Now let me know what you think about this crazy situation in the comment section below. Is this all a part of Kurama's crazy plan to turn Himawari into an even more powerful Jinchuriki than Naruto? Or do you think this more has to do with KASHIN Koji's plan that he's not telling us? Let me know all your thoughts and opinions. I haven't made a video centered around Himawari in quite a while, just because we haven't really been focused on her. So I thought now would be a very good time to do that. She's one of the most exciting characters in the series, and probably the one with the most potential. So she's definitely my personal favorite character behind Boruto. I can't wait to see her growth not only as a shinobi, but as her own character. So anyway, if you enjoyed this quick little video, make sure you leave your boy a like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified every time I upload or go live for chapter spoilers. And until next time, I'll catch you boys and girls later. I'm out. Peace.